On a scientific level, we know that the heart sends 4 times more information up to the brain than the brain does back down to the heart. So our heart's rhythm is directly connected to our emotions.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Second Wind podcast. And we have a really special guest and treat today. And before we get started, I really would like to ask you to please like and subscribe. And also feel free to sign up for our free monthly newsletter. You're welcome to ever go on my website, see what additional information and specials that we're running and services and events that are coming up as well. And that's miraclesofhealth.com. And I'm Judy Marie, for those who are really new to my channel. And I'm very excited because we get amazing guests here that have information and experiences that are helping a lot of people all over the country. And today, Nick Kidawski, did I say your last name right? Kidawski.
Yeah, you almost got it. It's
Okay.
Kidawski.
Oh, Kidawski. Okay. And Nick, I want to thank you so much for joining today with us. And your background is so fascinating. I'd like you to talk a little about it, but this is information and the work that you do and the consulting that you do with people who are stuck and dealing with a lot of anxiety, trauma, or grieving. We're going to go through all this too. And just briefly, Nick, how what's your story? How did you get into this? Because people who do this level of work usually have really had opportunities to do a lot of deep healing within themselves.
Yeah, so, you know, as a little kid, I was always sensitive to energy. So I remember when I was really little, walking into my bedroom, and I just had this feeling that there was a presence in there. So I started to like look underneath my bed and like behind my dresser, and I opened up my closet, and one of my brothers was in there, to scare me. And he said, how did you know I was in here? And I was like, well, I don't know. You know, I couldn't articulate it back then. So then later on, I ended up becoming a massage therapist. The type of massage that I did primarily was called Zen Shiatsu, which is a Japanese style of massage, balancing the energy channels or the meridians in the body through using the thumbs and palms and so on and so forth. And then from there, I studied craniosacral therapy. I studied Reiki. So again, just always having this awareness that I was sensitive to energy. And then I finally, years later, ended up coming upon and studying with my teacher Joyce, and her method of energy work called the Ivana method, that I currently practice today.
Now, what is that? I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
the Ivana
Ivana.
method.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Ivana method, it's a very advanced type of energy work
Mhm.
that can very quickly pinpoint or find the source of anxiety or trauma for a client and where they're holding it on many different levels in their body. And then from there, it works to balance that anxious or traumatic energy at a very deep level within their body. I would go so far as to say that it balances that energy at the level of their soul. And when that happens, then that's when the client can really start to heal themselves when that balance is brought at a deep level, since really all healing is self-healing.
Totally. And I love the fact you probably incorporate your variety of intuitive modalities in the work that you do.
Hmm.
By the sound of things, I know for myself when doing consultations, it's a mixed match of so many years of experience,
Hmm.
and the timing of what you're doing is so perfect in this world right now, as a lot of people are seeking and needing that balance, that help, and to become unblocked. Are you finding this like almost more urgent now than ever?
Oh, yeah, certainly. I mean, a lot of people are seeing psychotherapists and counselors, which is definitely helpful, definitely needed.
Mhm.
But sometimes for some people, just talking with someone, it doesn't always balance really the deeply rooted energy that's created from these anxious or traumatic experiences, that people have gone through, or are currently going through right now.
So being a would you say a highly sensitive person, as you are?
Hmm.
A lot of healers are. A lot of people are, and
Hmm.
some people don't even realize it. They're doing
Yes,
things to either numb out or avoid. They don't even know what they're avoiding, right?
I agree. Hmm.
Yeah. And so you're also a heart math coach. And
Hmm.
for our listeners, would you explain specifically what that is and how that can help them too?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, the HeartMath Institute, they're based in California. And really, since the early 90s, they've been doing a lot of scientific research, and their research has been published in like several medical journals about the connection between the heart and the brain. So, heart math tools and techniques are very simple tools and techniques that I sometimes will coach my clients on to help them to reconnect to their heart, really reconnecting to their authentic self, so that they can start to uh, regulate their emotions in the moment. And they can also even start to tap into their heart's intuition. So, when someone has gone through a lot of anxiety or a lot of trauma, naturally it's going to be difficult for them to be in their body. But once they start to heal that aspect, then that's when the heart math work can come in. Because with anxiety or trauma, it's like the mind can be going a million miles a minute, with different thoughts and memories and regrets and, so on and so forth. So through the heart math techniques, we use the intelligence of the heart to start to calm the mind. And to explain that a little bit further,
Yeah.
so level, we know that the heart sends 4 times more information up to the brain than the brain does back down to the heart. So our heart's rhythm is directly connected to our emotions. So when we're feeling anxious, when we're feeling nervous, when we're thinking about a past experience that we've been through, and even though it's the past, but we're still feeling that emotion of fear in the present, what's happening is that our heart is sending a very erratic signal up to our brain. And that is turning on certain areas of our brain that will perpetuate that fear and that worry and, that anxiety. So by helping clients to connect deeply with their heart when they're ready, um, I teach them how to change that signal going from their heart up to their brain from very erratic to very smooth. And when that happens, that starts to turn down those brain centers that I was talking about before, such as the amygdala, that's usually on like high alert when
Mhm.
someone has a lot of anxiety or a lot of trauma. So, yeah, so that's just kind of a little bit of the heart math work that I might do with a client. And then, we can go much deeper with it if it's something that they want to do.
Do you find, Nick, that sometimes there's such trauma that there isn't a memory of even this lifetime of how that even started? That's one of the questions. And if I haven't asked this already, remotely, you can work remotely as well. I would think
Yes.
a lot of people you work with are probably remote, right?
Yeah. So actually, all the work that I do with clients is over the phone. And with the first question, were you relating more to like past lives?
Well, possibly because we do live blood cell analysis here, and
Hmm.
it's fascinating the people who have a lot of, I don't know if you call it PTSD, around the idea of a needle, and it's only a pinprick
Oh.
to get the
Hmm.
blood, but they don't even know where this started from. They're, this
Mm-hmm.
phobia of a needle. Okay, that's an example of, it creates so much anxiety,
Hmm.
and there are little things, that come up in people's lives, come up in my life, not even having a memory of, well, what the heck? How did that start? Or where did that come from? But I guess it doesn't matter what the work you do, you help to realign that.
Yeah, so with the Ivana method, when I'm working with a client,
Hmm.
I'm connecting with their energy and I'm asking, okay, their current concern, is it does it have to do something with the present life? Or does it have to do something with the past life? And sometimes I do get that there's something going on in a past life, that they've carried through to this life.
Hmm.
The other thing that I find is that it's generational.
Ah.
So, in the case of anxiety, for example, I've worked with a couple of clients where they're like, you know what? I have a lot of anxiety and I don't know why. So
Hmm.
when it comes up within me, it feels like kind of weird or it feels kind of foreign and I
Hmm.
don't know why it's there. So when I'm finding the core of it,
Hmm.
it sometimes ends up that it's something that was passed on to them from their mother or their father, or a grandmother or a grandfather, or going several generations back. So usually the way that works is, if someone's grandfather, had a really bad day and it caused him a lot of anxiety, if he was unable to release that or resolve that or heal that,
Hmm.
what happens is that just gets passed along the generational line
Hmm.
until it gets to my client. And then that's when that can finally be, resolved, in its own way. But yeah, it's so interesting. Like you were saying, a lot of sometimes the phobias or the feelings or the emotions that people have really aren't theirs, you know? And so it can be so confusing when that happens to someone because they're like, I know I shouldn't have this, but I do, and I don't understand why, So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so great that you do the blood analysis with people to kind of, um, help them solve like a piece of their puzzle.
Right. It would be amazing if they could do one of your treatments, right?
Hmm.
You know, even prior or after when they get, you know, more information, because all of what you're talking about absolutely affects our cells. It affects our blood. It affects our
Hmm.
organs. It affects whatever we're attracting into our life on that frequency where we're
Hmm.
stuck. You know, I'm curious to ask you, Nick. I love on your website where you say, heal emotional and mental pain, bring peace to your thoughts. You
Hmm.
know, that is so key. And then you say, is the pain of your past holding you back? I mean, it's all the past that holds us back. So
Hmm.
here's what I'm curious to ask you, because people who don't feel they're deserving, or they don't feel they're good enough, or and I'm thinking of manifesting good things in their life, or the financial blocks that have been generational in the family.
Hmm.
Have you worked with that with people? And what have you seen people, you know, how have they healed through that?
Hmm. Yeah, so not much, not so much the family blocks, but the self-esteem.
Mhm,
So, sometimes that might come up in like a relationship, for example.
mhm,
So, in that case, what I'll do is I'll do what's called a re-exchange of energy. So it's an Ivana method technique, and anytime we go through an anxious or a traumatic experience, whether it's a relationship or not, we give energy to that experience or that person.
mhm,
And then that experience also leaves energy with us. So, within the case of a relationship, for example,
mhm,
sometimes people's energies just kind of get too enmeshed,
mhm,
and that's why they can't stop thinking about the argument or the fight that they had.
mhm,
So it's re-exchanging the energy between two people so that each
mhm,
person gets their energy back. And when that happens, that sense of self-esteem in one person that may have been out of balance, it can come back into balance
mhm.
because their energy is balanced. They're in their own kind of little energy bubble again.
Yeah.
They're not like enmeshed so much with someone in a harmful way.
So it then would you need both people if they're there as a couple or a relationship, or not?
Y- Yeah, no, not necessarily.
Mm,
No. And then,
mm,
I might also give that person some heart math work, to be like, okay, when you connect with your heart,
mhm,
as you're focused on your heart, as you're breathing in and out of your heart, you might just go ahead and for a week or two, just send yourself compassion,
mm,
and then when you're ready, you can start by sending yourself compassion and then send your partner compassion, from your heart.
mhm,
Um, a lot of what I find is a lot of self-esteem issues, and again, even anxiety and trauma, so much of it is tied up in our mind,
mhm,
but it's like our heart doesn't worry.
mhm,
Our heart doesn't have fear. Our heart doesn't have anxiety. A
mhm,
lot of a lot of that is kind of tied up in our thinking and our beliefs.
mhm.
But when we do something like the Ivana method and something like heart math, we can tune into our heart and start to ask our heart to give us a different perspective on our situation.
So let's see, Nick. Here's an example.
Hmm.
So I've known this one client for a number of years. He attracts car accidents.
Hmm.
Okay, so would that be a good example, you know, of the heart math or the work that you do to make the connection? Why is that, you know, repeating in his life, and therefore, people develop more the fear of
Hmm.
uh-oh, and then of course another one's going to happen, another one's going to happen.
Hmm.
But evidently this is not uncommon either, and I noticed on
Hmm.
your website too, you talked about helping people with trauma and anxiety, for example, from being in a car accident, which could be
Hmm.
very traumatic.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so oftentimes with car accidents, there is that re-exchange of energy that needs to be done, that I was telling you about. Because when there is a car accident, there's obviously memories,
Mm-hmm.
and there are emotions that are connected to those memories. So when we go through a trauma like that, we might have a flashback that then triggers those past emotions in our body. So when the re-exchange of energy is done, we can think about that memory and it doesn't go away, it's still there, but there's no longer an intense emotional charge that's connected to it. So it's like that memory is kind of neutralized. And then as far as your client that attracts the car accidents, that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, have they had do they have like one car accident that they just like never got over and or never like healed from, and that's attracting other car accidents? Or is it maybe just like some emotion of fear that they're holding within their body that might be theirs,
Mm-hmm.
maybe from years from years earlier rather, or maybe from something that happened in their childhood, or again, maybe it's something that they're carrying from, their mother or their father or grandparents that they never got over, that
Right,
your client is currently now struggling with.
right. Because it be also the memories that are in the womb, before
Hmm.
you're
Yep.
even birthed. There's just and what a time everybody I really think is given opportunities right now to clear up anything, heal up anything of the past. And and why be afraid to look at that? Don't you find some people,
Hmm.
well, I guess when they come to you, they're ready, right? For the most part, they're
Yeah,
ready to
yeah,
change.
they are. They're ready to change. And what I do, it's not like psychotherapy or counseling because I'm not licensed in any of that.
Mhm, mhm,
But, I'll just ask some very basic questions just so that I get enough information to just notice, like, okay, this is where you're holding this in your body. So it's like, yeah, it's not going super deep with it. It's not, talking about it over and over and over.
mhm.
Uh,
You're
yeah.
just helping them move the energy. Like you use the word
Hmm.
neutralize.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so then that means they don't have a charge on it anymore, right?
Yeah, exactly. So for example, your client with the car accident,
Mm-hmm.
I would do a re-exchange of energy with them,
Mm-hmm.
and then they could think about that car accident, but not have the strong emotional charge,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they could think about it, and their thought might be like, oh yeah, I went through that car accident, and that's it. Right? There's no longer that emotion of fear or regret or feeling guilty, like I should have stopped at the stop sign or I shouldn't have gone through the red light or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those emotions that usually get connected to those memories that like really keep people stuck.
Mm-hmm. So having that awareness, like what it frees people up when they start to neutralize, whatever that has been traumatic of the past, or what I find, Nick, is the more I can connect the dots, and see, oh, okay, this habit has come from, or this reaction
Hmm.
comes from, so I can become more proactive. And it sounds like it's a practice. It's a practice of, like you said, then give yourself more commit or compassion. Give your
Hmm.
give yourself, your higher self, or your heart, or just communicate to it. I mean, the heart is a muscle, okay, right?
Hmm.
Okay, but we're talking energetically, to the
Yeah.
chakra or to those fields that when, which this is bringing up something too, putting our heart into something that is so good and so healing makes such a difference in, how we're going to continue to move forward.
Hmm.
There's an
Yes.
expression, half-heartedness. Doing something half-heartedness doesn't really work well, doesn't really end up well. You only get half of maybe what you're capable of or you're wanting.
Yeah, yeah, I 100% agree. And I think that, there really is something that everyone on this earth is passionate about. It's something that really kind of connects someone to their heart, So it's like maybe it's painting, maybe it's making pottery, maybe it's uh guiding someone through nature, who knows? But I think we're never too old to reconnect with that passion, because it's a part of us. It's like part of our heart's blueprint, it's not going anywhere. So,
Mhm.
like why not spend the time to find out what it is and to at least make an attempt, to follow your heart's passion.
I'm glad you're mentioning that too. As an example, in the live blood cell analysis, it clearly will show if you're living a life in your joy. It's
Mhm.
amazing how that will show up in the blood work.
So
Versus,
how does that show up in the blood work? I'm curious.
it's fascinating, all the characteristics that show in the quality of the blood. We have a lady who comes in and she's been well trained in this, and she does that, and she can see immediately how the cells are moving in the blood, how
Mhm.
they can tell how the characteristics of the red and white blood cells. She can see areas, what will represent and indicate around the heart, you know. So it would be just so fabulous to see, doing some of your work with some of these people, because don't you think most people, they want to feel good about who they are, what they're doing. They want to feel the peace. And to me, then we comes the passion of life, then comes the power. We have this inner power and strength. Otherwise, it's like if I don't stay focused on that, Nick, then I'm giving my power away, to
Mhm.
other situations and circumstances and people that it's it just depletes me of energy, doing that
Mhm.
versus, the method and what you're talking about, really doing too.
Yeah, so one of the things when I work with people, when we're doing Avana method energy work, and maybe we might do a little bit of heart math work, is I'll ask them, where are you depleting your energy throughout the day? And also, where do you find that you're renewing your energy throughout the day? So when you find that you're depleting your energy, that's when it's time to get out of your head and to connect with your heart so that you can send that smooth, calm signal up to your brain to help you to turn back on the executive centers of your brain that help you to think clearly and plan rationalize and all of that, because that's what really gets kind of turned off when we're struggling with anxiety and with trauma. And that's sometimes why like we feel stuck and why it's so hard to to move forward from that.
Yeah, you when I get in those places, I don't feel as creative, you
Hmm.
know. And creativity is how spirit flows.
Hmm.
That flows and how everything circulates in the body. And I can validate that. About a month ago, I had a situation come up, even in my own health, my own
Hmm.
place, because I was trying to be okay with something for a few years that in my heart, I really wasn't.
Hmm.
Okay. And when I finally accepted that and said, I'm ready to make this decision now. I'm ready to make this change. What a difference with all of this starting to move through my body. And I'm going to look forward to having a session with you because I mean, we're going through so many changes right now.
Hmm.
What's working, what's not working, and making these decisions sooner than later because I think it's more painful to stay stuck in something. Or Nick, I don't know. A lot of people don't realize they don't have to. They have
Hmm.
choices and they can have, a coach like you guide them through. Oh my goodness, it might take, I don't know what, a session or two, depending on their situation.
Hmm.
Or, I guess you could go as deep as you want, right? You can expand it as much as you want.
Yeah, exactly. So, we're much more than our physical body, right? So, I oftentimes will let clients know that your body is going to heal in layers and it takes time, So sometimes during a session, someone might feel really great after, and then the next level or the next layer comes up to be resolved. And
Mhm,
that's sometimes when we might have like a past memory that we haven't thought of in a long time,
mhm,
or, maybe we got bullied on the playground, I don't know.
mhm,
And
mhm,
maybe that comes up. But the reason that it's coming up is because we're getting healthier. So our body is saying, okay, that memory or that emotion that you suppressed for the past 25 years,
mhm,
I'm feeling healthier, I have more energy now, and I have the reserves and the resilience for you to start to finally resolve and heal this. So sometimes when that sort of thing happens, people think that they're actually going backwards
mhm.
because they're
Yeah.
feeling all this uncomfortable stuff coming up, but it's really like a blessing that that's coming up. Because again, like the body's saying, okay, like I'm ready to finally resolve this so that you can move forward in your life. Whatever that looks like for you.
And that brings up something else that I hear pretty common. The awakened path isn't necessarily painless. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you experience this with people because you just mentioned this. It's
Mm-hmm.
not always comfortable. Not everything came overnight. It may not go
Mm-hmm.
away overnight. It's like, can I really teach somebody else what I've learned in these last 45 years? No, because it's an experience at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're giving people experiences outside of what they had, so then everything else starts to change. Like, what, okay, we're doing this in the body and the heart. And then, but don't you think there's an inner knowing and a truth that, oh my gosh, they feel something just feels right.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where it goes back to like really tuning into and listening to our heart,
Mm,
right? Just like the example that you gave me a couple of minutes earlier.
Mm-hmm.
where you were like, in my heart, I know I should do this, but I'm kind of like fighting it and resisting it, even though I know it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you finally um uh maybe like accepted that,
Mm-hmm.
and decided to follow your heart, then things really started to shift. So yeah, it's like I believe that we all kind of have this inner intuition or this inner knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is intuitive, right?
Yeah.
So I think it needs to stop being this like woo-woo sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just like let's accept it. Okay, like everyone is intuitive. So how do we start to really trust and follow those inner promptings? And that's where I'm sure the work that you do, it helps a lot of people, as well as the work that I'm involved in.
Mm-hmm. My passion, one of my passions, I've got many, is to share to the world people as yourself who can help so many other people. Because,
Mhm.
I mean, I have so much time to, it's not about managing time, it's projects and other things. But to be able to share with others the work like you're doing that's helping change people's lives. And again, I want to just mention, please like and subscribe so we can keep sharing information like Nick is sharing today. And there are a lot of people who have traumatic experiences who are really stuck in the mental pain and emotional anguish that you can help relieve them of and give them, a light of hope and help that, they wouldn't otherwise. And it's nice. People like talking to someone. Either it's a really good, solid, honest referral, and especially somebody they don't know.
Mhm.
That it's a stranger, but yet I can tell with you, you come from your heart. And having that level of awareness and sensitivity is a huge part of helping another person to heal through wherever they're at.
Yeah, exactly. So, what I've noticed over the years is sometimes people will come to me, or maybe you've even noticed this too, and there's this mentality of like, I need to be fixed, right? I need to be fixed. There's something wrong with me. And what I discovered when I went through a lot of anxiety and trauma a number of years ago, actually due to a car accident, and then my mother being diagnosed with uterine cancer, and I was her caregiver for a number of years, and she unfortunately didn't make it. Um, I would go to practitioners and think that I needed to be fixed.
Mhm.
But what I really understood was I didn't need to be fixed because I wasn't broken, but I was out of balance. So if I was out of balance, I could regain balance again. It was already within me, and I didn't need someone to fix me, but I needed someone just to support my own healing process as I healed myself. Because as I said earlier, really all healing is self-healing.
Yeah, there's such a wisdom and intelligence to our healing, right?
Hmm.
That's in every one of us. Every one of us has a master healer we're connected with inside. I'm so
Yep.
glad you mentioned that because people with that attitude of being fixed or we're not into putting a band-aid on something, no way, right? And to see, and I can tell this with you, you bring out more the fullness and fulfillment of who they are, or how to have a more fulfilling life really does
Hmm.
come from within to realign.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know, because I don't know that we see enough of the beauty, that we see enough of things that within ourselves that is really amazing, you know, or maybe we haven't remembered it yet, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I would say I don't think we've remembered it yet. You
Hmm.
know, it's there. It's
Yeah.
just been covered over by anxiety and trauma and, you know, maybe some unpleasant experiences that we've gone through in our life.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, once we start to heal that and resolve those concerns layer by layer, that that health naturally will emerge
Hmm.
because it was always there. Again, it just got covered over by some stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and it could be whether it's society, whether it's just whatever we made up in our mind, right?
Hmm.
Or whatever. But there are so many things we can change. There are things we're powerless over, granted, but then there are things that we are not powerless over.
Hmm.
You know, we are these amazing alchemists. We all are.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. I totally agree.
Gosh, this is so cool. Um, you have some steps, you know, of how people can reach you. They
Hmm.
might want a consultation with you. For those who are more serious in some transformational work, would you please share how they can get in touch with you, Nick?
Yeah, thank you. So they can go to my website, which is cultivatethewellness.com. And on there, they can obviously check out my services. I also do a monthly newsletter as well that they can sign up for. And then I have my own podcast. It's called Healing the Heart of Anxiety, Holistic Tools to Overcome Your Worry, Fear, and Trauma. And they can find that on Apple, on Spotify, you know, most podcast platforms.
Great. And then we will mention in the link below all this information that they could reach you as well. And anything in closing you would like to share?
Um, you know, I just hope our time together, our conversation together, um, you know, helped your audience maybe have an aha moment,
Mhm.
or maybe helped them in some way that they can use this information and apply it to their own healing, you know, whatever that might look like for them.
Hmm. Thank you. Nick, thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining with us today. And I thank all the listeners as well. And we'll be in touch soon. And let's keep expecting many, many more miracles.